Welcome back, everyone, to another one-on-one with JerryVHall. Today's guest is a dear friend, one of the greatest guys I know, actually. It's Mr. Cryptopolis. That's right, I've got Dave coming in studio. We're going to discuss his new project, CopyCat Coach. We're going to talk about the incredible direction crypto is going to be allowed to take now with the obvious OCC clarity letter that was published just several days ago. Sit back, enjoy, because that conversation's coming up right now. So Dave, so gracious of you to take some time from your busy schedule to come back and have a chat with me. How are things going?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me back, Jerry. I appreciate it. Yeah, things are going fantastic. Absolutely great.
Now, you have been a busy bee. So two things. One, I just want to make right off the top, I so desperately miss your Friday weekly weekend reviews on Brad Kimes' channel. I loved those shows. They are coming back at some point soon, I hope, right?
Well, now they have been back for a couple of weeks, so except for last Friday. Last Friday, Brad had a conflict with his schedule, so we couldn't do it. But we have done it for the last 3 out of 4 weeks.
Then something's wrong with my notifications, because I used to get notifications and I could.
Right, but they're not live.
Oh.
So what we're doing is we're recording them and then he's posting them to his YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had a little issue a few weeks ago. There was somebody who complained or something during the stream, and they shut down his YouTube channel again. But this time it was very temporary. It was only like a 24-hour thing, and he came back. But he's worried about doing live streams now, so we're doing a recording of the program. I know I love the live streams. I love the interaction with everybody in the live stream, and I think that's absolutely dynamic. But
well, I will tell you, I'm a huge fan of yours. Really developed a fondness for you over the last couple of years. I have a deep respect for Brad Kimes, and in truth, a little bit envious because I'm doing a lot of stuff on YouTube and he does a lot of stuff on YouTube and he's extremely good at it. And I don't know anybody in the space who manages a live stream with in the way Brad does. Brad is a master at being able to manage the chat, a topic, and even guests when he has them on his show. And that will be sorely missed because his live streams were very, they were informational, but they were also entertaining. I felt like a part of the process. It was wonderful.
No, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I miss the live streams too. And I mean, geez, I appreciate everybody that showed up for the live streams and interacted with us. And I just loved it. I'm actually thinking about doing some live streams again myself, because if he's not doing it, I still like the interaction, and I like to get together with all the people in the stream, and I appreciate you too. I consider you to be a dear friend.
Yeah, me as well too. And for those of you that are tuning in that may not know this, Dave and I have collaborated on a series that's in a playlist here on my channel. It was on Coil at first, and we've moved it to this channel. It's called Beyond Moon, where we look at things like sudden wealth, establishing goals, getting prepared, looking at the various elements that are going to come with these riches, quote unquote, from our crypto investments, and best practices to ensure that we're not one of those, stories on YouTube about the person who got rich from their crypto investment and 2 years later is dead broke.
Right. Yeah, that's an important series. If anybody has an opportunity, and make it a priority to go and watch those, because the last thing we want anybody to happen to is to take the profits from their cryptocurrency that they've been sitting on for 3 years. They've been waiting and hoping that this thing's going to take off, and then when it does, they take all the money and then end up having nothing left because they weren't sure how to manage it, how to invest it and how to make it grow for the future. Because I mean, you're young. I'm a little bit older than you, but maybe not much. I don't know. I don't know. I think we compared ages at one time, and we're pretty
We're
close.
a couple years apart.
Yeah, a couple years. I got a couple years on you, but
you do.
But I think for the majority of people who are in this space, though, they're going to be younger than we are. And, even me, I'm planning on a good 20, 25 years, maybe 30 years ahead. And so a lot of people are going to have 30, 40, 50 years ahead in their life. And if they make a lot of money in a very, very short period of time, it would be tragic if they didn't have that knowledge that we provided in those videos to know how to grow it and how to keep it and how to manage it over a long period of time.
Well, and those videos were wonderful, but also what's kept you busy, because I keep tabs on you, as a close friend, I do keep an eye. This CopyCat program series and even like dedicated YouTube channel that you've created, to me, well, you know what? I have it from the horse's mouth. Why don't you share what you've been busy on with CopyCat? And if you want to share screen and put anything up, whatever, let's spend some time on that, because I'll tell you, you're building on exactly that premise, and that is sharing the experience that you've had throughout your years in the market, whatever various markets they've been, to bring those lessons to the newer folks, whether you're 54 like I am, or 18 just getting out of school. These are important things that can help you be successful managing and implementing resources, whether it be in the creation of an enterprise or managing capital. So yeah, the ball's yours. Roll with it, Dave.
All right. So let me give you a little bit of background on why I started this project. And one of the reasons was over the years, since about 2014, I started getting into training traders. And some of them were retail investors, some of them were institutional investors, hedge fund traders, and so forth. And it's very different between the retail and the hedge fund and the institutional traders, because the institutional traders really don't have a lot of leeway in what they can do. They can only, hey, their management tells them what to buy. They tell, just get it at a good price, and that's about it. They're going to add it to their portfolio. But in the off hours, they wanted to trade their own account, and so I helped them with that. Retail traders, the ones that I've traded, typically were in business for themselves. They had a large portfolio and they wanted to be able to manage it better and get it, generate a return better than they can get, just about anywhere else by managing their own money. But, since I've gotten into the cryptocurrency community, I found a lot of young traders, a lot of people who just didn't really know how to trade. And I'm talking to them, and they really didn't have any money. And it's like, well, you need to have something in order to manage it, right? And so what I decided to do was create something called CopyCat Coach program, and I'm going to share my screen with you, to help people learn how to create more money, how to create, get some cash together so they can build a portfolio, and not just of cryptocurrencies, but traditional investments as well. So I started, if you go to copycatcoach.com, you'll see where you can actually get on my list. And what I do is, the premise of this is that I created several times a project from nothing, and I generated $1 million from it. And I've done that multiple times. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually inviting you and people who listen to this channel and anybody else that they can refer to copycatcoach.com. And there's also a YouTube channel called CopyCat Coach, where you can go and watch some free videos about what I'm doing. But what I want to do is day by day, week by week, month by month, and let you copy what I'm doing, because I set a goal of creating another project that's going to make $1 million. And so you can follow me day by day, week by week, month by month, to see exactly how I'm doing it. And it's absolutely free. Everything is free on it.
Well, okay. So in a world filled with propaganda and advertisements about, hey, send me $100 and I'm going to send you a course where you can make $1 million. And, you know, this and that, and you know, if you pay me, I'll mentor you, and I'll show you these social media marketing techniques that'll make you thousands of dollars per day, blah 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 blah. In a backdrop of all that absolute bullshit,
Yeah.
here is CopyCat Coach, that is having a person like you, Dave, who has been successful doing these things in the past, start from zero, create an idea,
Right.
implement research strategies to get either off the shelf free open source software to create this or do that or the other thing. These step by step, walking somebody through the process is a way to change perception and perspective that is not being offered anywhere else. And here's the best part. The only thing you're asking of people is for them to dedicate time and energy into the most valuable thing in their life, and that is themselves. And you're not asking for any compensation for it. Dave, this is a truly wonderful altruistic thing that you're doing. I commend you wholeheartedly for it, and really proud to be your friend as a direct result, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, there is a revenue model behind this, but all of the teaching is free. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, you know, I got to make my goal of $1 million because I promised everybody I would, but everything is completely transparent. In fact, I sent out an email last week for the first month's product update on the project, and I shared my sales and everything else with it. And so I'm being told transparent. Whatever you want to know about how I'm doing it, you can either ask me or I'll put it in the video, or if you ask me, I will put it in a future video. The only thing I ask is, in order for me to communicate with you, the easiest way to do that is by email. So if you go to copycatcoach.com, now I am going to be changing this page up, but the email address form is still there. So you can just put your email in and then get notified when I send out the emails, and, you know, giving you additional instructions, tools that I'm using, some psychology stuff. I mean, I touch on everything. I think one of the biggest issues that people have about making money is that they're too busy to make money. You know, as funny as that sounds, they're working a job and they don't have any time when they get home because they got kids and they got family and everything else. And it's exactly what happened to me when I first got started. I was working for a government agency, and, you know, I wanted to start a side business, and I worked for this government agency, a couple different ones, for about 20 years. And then I said, you know, that's enough. In order for me to really get started and do something on my own, I need to quit my job, and I quit it cold turkey. And I don't recommend that for everybody, but I had 4 kids, 2 houses, and I ended up quitting my job in order to start the business. Well, the first couple of years I got heavily in debt. But then after the second year, I started seeing the light. I paid off all my debt, paid off my 2 houses, paid cash for my cars, put my kids through college, paid for it myself. And so there's a lot of rewards to be able to do it. Now, I've got a lot of experience. I go back to when I started, it was 1999. So I've got a lot of years of experience doing this. Now, I created several $1 million projects, which I then used in order to invest in cryptocurrency, invest in my portfolio, and trade and so forth. And then I got kind of bored. I was years and years out of the publishing business, which is how I made almost all of my money to be able to invest. And I got bored and I started training traders. And so that's what I've been doing for the last few years. But I'm getting back into publishing because it's the easiest way, in my opinion, to make money. It is absolutely the easiest. And this is the project that I'm talking about. It's called The Information Edge. It's at my website. And if you contact me through copycatcoach.com, you can get more information on the Information Edge, where I'm going to be publishing courses that you can take. In fact, I just finished one this weekend, Jerry. And it's a course I would normally sell for about $200, but I'm giving it away to anybody who signs up at copycatcoach.com, which I just lost the page, but there it is. If you go sign up there, you get it absolutely free. There's no charge for it. So I'm trying to give back to the community. I want people who have the ambition, who have a little bit of common sense, and who want to make some extra money to be able to invest in crypto and create a portfolio, maybe even buy some real estate to be able to do this. Now, let me share with you some statistics and some key points about, there's a little bit of a saying here. I call this project the Information Edge for the courses that I'm creating as part of this project to make $1 million. And it's because actionable content is currency. And what I mean by that is that content that you create can be converted into cash money. You can sell courses, you can sell PDFs, you can sell videos, you can create YouTube channels and monetize that. There's all kinds of ways that you can convert content that people consume into cash money, but you can also convert attention by creating content. You can also create content that can be converted to anything of value through some sort of a barter, and I've done that as well. Now, let me share with you that I started this 6 weeks ago with just $100, no advertising, no expensive setup. I had a desktop computer already, so I didn't have to buy anything. And most people have a computer, especially if they're watching us, right?
Right.
Just a computer and the internet. 6-week-old company, and I've generated $40,156 in sales. And here is a screenshot from the platform that I'm using in order to generate those sales.
Excellent.
And so I know I can do this. I want to teach you how I'm doing it, and that's exactly what the project is all about at CopyCat Coach. So I want you to see, the reason I call it the CopyCat Coach is because I want you to copy me. I want you to see what I'm doing and then copy me.
Sure. I love it.
Anyway, all of these, I've gotten some fantastic testimonials from people who have bought my stuff. You can go on my website, Info Product Lab, and take a look at all of these. You know, I've got testimonials going back to 1999 when I first came out with the courses. I've got new testimonials from the new courses. And I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And I just created a course on how to create courses. That's the one I'm going to give you for free if you go to copycatcoach.com.
Okay. This is right on. You know, it's so great. You know, it seems like so many people in their mind, and this is just an observation, there's so many people, it's like this or that. It's like we live in this world where everything is polarized, right? Or at least that's how it's expressed. And what I'm seeing here with you is that for as little as nothing, you can get in on the ground floor of something, start to develop some stuff. And if you want more, then you're going to have access to more. And obviously there's a compensation or a revenue element in that. And I think that is.
Well, here's the deal though. I'm not going to be charging for like a membership site or anything like that. That you can't.
Exactly.
So here's what I'm going to, if you can make money from something that I provide, then we have a deal. If you can't make money from it, then it's no deal. I'm not going to sell it to you. So it's going to be what I call a fair trade. So there's a lot of stuff online where you say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to teach you something and you're going to pay me $1,000 for it. I said, okay, well, you know, that could be fair because you know, if you go to a university course or something like that, and nothing against universities, but typically they're very theoretical. You don't get the practical knowledge. You don't get the actionable knowledge. And a lot of times the courses that I find online that I've taken are very actionable. So they're taught by somebody who has the experience, they have the knowledge, and you can put the information that you learn to work right away. Well, what I'm saying is, look, if I sell something to you, I want you to make more money from it than what you purchased it for. So if you buy something from me for $97, I want you to go out and use that to make $300 or $400 or $500. So you have a 3, 4, 5x return on whatever you purchase from me. And the details of that kind of, I think that's a fair trade. I don't know about you, but I think it's a fair trade.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'm not going to sell you anything that will not make you more money. Let's put it that way.
Well, then
and the teaching is
that's
free.
Even better.
It's free. So
no, that's even better. It's wonderful. There are so many I get a lot of comments in the videos that I create, and some of them are as simple as, "Hey, thanks for the video. This was, nice information," or "I liked this person," or whatever. But I also get a lot of people who actually are taking their time to say, "I gleaned this little nugget from the video, and so thank you, and I appreciate that." And to have to have access, number one, to somebody who has been successful is not always easy, especially if the circles that you were in growing up were lower or middle class. Like me, I didn't grow up around a circle of people who were very successful and had experience under their belt. And even now today, I have a lot of interactions with people, whether it be through Facebook, Twitter, the YouTube comments and stuff like that, which are kind of superficial. Something like what you're doing is really kind of like next level shit. And it's not commonly available. And being able to give some airtime to you and be able to get some folks on Facebook to see this, get some eyeballs on Twitter to see this, that this is truly a value added situation. And the deal of it is it's up to you. You make the choice. Each individual says, I've been looking for a way to express this and I haven't found it. Well, maybe this is it. Maybe not. Who knows? You can't hurt by doing some investigation, right? And testing it out.
That's right. I think a lot of people, and I know this also happened to me because, before I started my business in 1999, a publishing business that I still own and which I'm kind of recreating today, I wanted to start my own business for a good 10 or 15 years while I was still working for the government agencies that I was employed by. But so many things got in my way. I mean, I had a young family, I had kids, not that they were in the way, but mentally I had things in the way. It's like, well, I can't do it now because I got young kids I got to take care of, or I can't do it now because I just bought a house, or I can't do it now because I have this project at work I have to take care of. And so I'm trying to help people through all of the barriers that typically will set you back and will not allow you to move forward trying to make more money. See, here's the thing. If you can let's say you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year in your job, and if you can make an extra $50,000 or $60,000 per time, now you're starting to say, hey, look, now I'm making $100,000 a year. I can get someplace. And also, it's also the fact that one small success, like I remember the very first time I sold a book I wrote, because I had a lot of experience selling on eBay back in 1999. I was selling used and rare books. And I couldn't believe I was making sales. I was making like $300 or $400 a week extra while I was still working for somebody else. And the feeling of accomplishment that I got by just selling a few $100s worth of used and rare books on eBay was absolutely incredible. It was stimulating. And it made me better at my job, actually, because I was so excited to come home every single day, packaging up books and looking at the sales that I made that day. It's exciting. And then, no one in my family had ever made over $100,000 a year. And for some reason, I had in my mind that getting to that 100,000 was really, really hard. But then after I broke through that 100,000 after the second year of business, I said, well, it wasn't that tough. And I have never made less than 100,000 or six figures since then. And I think people set up these barriers in their mind that they're not 100% convinced that they can do it. And that's why I'm starting this, is that if you copy me, even the things that I'm talking about right now, all of the emails, how I write, I want you to go in and dissect the way I write emails, the way I do videos, the way I try to communicate with an audience is very, very important. It's all part of the teaching that I'm trying to convey in this project.
Gosh, thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, would you feel comfortable switching hats and pretending it's just you and me on your back patio there, enjoying a cup of coffee and shooting the shit about the crypto market. Because I'm telling you, I am bubbling with all the incredible things that have come out in the
Yeah.
last week, and where my
It's going to have to be iced coffee though, because it's really hot today.
okay, iced coffee's cool. You know, Dave, one of the things that I've always loved about you is that you have this incredible ability to get excited and be excited, forecasting where something can go without getting unrealistic. It's like there's always this kind of grounded temperament, even when you're enthusiastic. And I really appreciate that, because there's sometimes I can get real dream boy and connect 25 different thoughts and start signing the papers for the yacht I'm going to buy, even though there's not one single dollar in my account yet.
Right. Everybody does that a little bit.
You know what I mean? So what's happened in the recently in the crypto world that has put just a monster smile on your face?
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing recently is the letter from Brian Brooks at the OCC talking about the fact that now banks across the United States can custody crypto. That is just huge. I was joking. Jay Hyatt 139 is somebody who regularly shows up on Brad Kimes and on Twitter, and he's a neighbor of mine actually. He lives not too far from me. And he goes, hey, did you see the news about the OCC and Brian Brooks? And I said, no, I didn't. It was the morning it broke, and I was busy on this project that I was talking about. And so I said, no, I didn't see it. So he sent me a link. I went over to take a look at it, and I sent him an emoji with a yawn. and he goes, what? And I said, I'm just kidding. That's the biggest news I have heard in 3.5 years I've been in this space. And it is very, very exciting. And I think July 22nd is going to be called, in my opinion, it should be National Crypto Day, because it was really a breakthrough letter in telling that, hey, look, you know what? It legitimizes cryptocurrencies, number one, if it's coming from the OCC. Number two, it's authoritative because the OCC does not need congressional approval or an act of some sort in order to enact that. They can provide the guidance themselves with the full authority of the U.S. government and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. So it was just very, very big. It legitimizes the space. I think it's going to open up just a huge adoption to the average retail investor or those people who haven't heard of cryptocurrency before, because, at some point in the very near future, you're going to see bank accounts have a new line in there with cryptocurrencies as the ability to custody and hold next to your USD in your wallet in your bank account. And you're going to be able to send it back and forth, and you don't have to learn a 12-key phrase. Now, you might have that. If you need it, you can get it from the bank. So they're going to be the custody. It's just very, very exciting news, especially for adoption. And then, of course, we had the news with PayPal. PayPal is going to, the 300 million accounts of PayPal, all of a sudden people with PayPal can now, well, they haven't done it yet, but they announced they're going to do it, is to be able to buy cryptocurrencies through PayPal. So just really, really big news over the last few weeks I'm excited about.
Just those two things that you talked about there. So with the national banks and the FSAs, right, who've just been basically given the green light, that presents an addressable market of 200 million U.S. citizens.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's huge. It's just unbelievable.
It's monstrous. So just the retail, forward-facing retail market, monstrous. What really, though, I'll tell you, this is because I think the adoption to capture that addressable market, and I'll be honest, in the retail space, is going to be a much longer road right? The thing that excited me immediately was, okay, they basically just given the green light to every single financial services entity in the country.
Yeah, true. Yep.
It's okay. Now, the second they're able to roll out maybe something they've already been working on or something that they're going to go to work on immediately, and that is, how do they create products that they can get a commission on and then present to their addressable market? Now, the stats that I got, and they could be wrong, are basically this. The already existing cryptocurrency investor, about 35 billion. 35 million, sorry, not with a B, but with an M, 35 million. However, the legacy investing community, 550 million, and these are global numbers.
Right.
Well, 550 million people who are already acclimated to a process of using their national currency to invest in a hard asset that will either appreciate because the value of the company goes up on its own merits, or goes up because their national currency's value is going down. Doesn't matter. Value is value. I don't care how it is, arrived. That addressable market of 550 million existing investors don't need a lot of new coaching on how to open an account, how to fund an account, how to, seek whatever, research or guidance within the investment world, because they already do it. Whether it's as simple as a 401k or as complex as a multi-asset, design strategy within an existing portfolio. This could be another allocation in that portfolio. Right. That, to me, that got exciting fast. Now, you're somebody who I can ask this question to, because I think if you know the answer, you'll tell me, and if you don't know, you won't. But there was a specific line in that document that talked about these elements that they were presenting in the response letter as being codified. To me, that speaks to this is becoming code, and they even referenced a couple. Like, what was it? 4SDR-12 or 4SDR-7. Those, to me, are lines of regulatory code within an existing OCC code book. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I think what it does is they're referencing those in order to apply the current opinion in that letter. So, they called the letter actually an opinion, but it's more than that, because they have the authority to implement it. And so when they want to take this letter and they want to put it as part of the existing code, just like a municipality is going to use a housing code. They're going to say, hey, these are the guidelines that we have in order for you to implement this. And so now we're adding it to those to that code, so you know exactly where it fits in. It's very, very exciting. I think that the whole idea of the addressable market for cryptocurrency has just expanded tremendously. Now, we don't know really why they timed it this way. But, when you think about the very first draft of the CARES Act, remember that? They had in the very first paragraph, very first section, digital wallet. Digital wallets. That's right. And now, they probably said something like, well, I don't think we can do this yet without the OCC coming in and making, possible for banks to actually have a digital wallet. Let's get the OCC on board. And then we saw Brian Brooks transfer from Coinbase over to the OCC. That was the step that they needed. Now Brian Brooks comes in with the guidance for the banks on how to custody. That's what they needed. They needed that guidance to be in place before they could actually implement it in the bill. Now there's a second stimulus bill coming out, and that is coming possibly today. It's going to be negotiated with the House, and that may, and I'm kind of thinking along these lines, that they didn't have it. They took it out of the first bill because they needed Brian Brooks. They needed the OCC to provide the guidance to the banks. And now, and a lot of people who complained about the first stimulus checks have not gone out for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And
millions of people still, millions of
that's right.
eligible
Yeah,
citizens have not received even the first one.
that's correct. And
Yeah, crazy.
they're projecting that some of those checks may not even hit until October. So, I mean, this is just, and they're coming out with a second stimulus bill now. So I've got to believe that all the pieces are in place, and I'm kind of thinking it would be very nice if they put that digital dollar, digital wallet at the bank's custody back in place, so that now they can say, okay, we've got the OCC on board, let's do this. Banks are okay in custodying digital assets. That would be the best scenario I could possibly think of. Not sure it's going to happen, because we know how the government likes to kick that can down the road and keep putting things off and procrastinate, but I'm hoping that's the case.
Well, that whole necessity breeds innovation concept. There was a great quote from a gentleman, Dave Meadows, who I interviewed yesterday and put on my channel. This was a 13-year Navy SEAL Hollywood actor who's reminded me, and it's so incredible. That's why I see a lot of similarities between the two of you. One is we're all the same. And the difference between success and mediocrity has nothing to do with genetics. It has everything to do with mindset. And mindset we have control over. We have control over how we are going, the lens we're going to look through to view the world, and how we can dramatically change our circumstances by just changing our perspective and our attitude.
That's true. That's true. I know someone who would argue that point, that there is some genetics and risk taking that predispose you for risk taking. In fact, if you hold up your hand up to the screen like that, ha 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 ha.
Do I have the risk taking line?
Yes, you do. And actually, I think I can put this in the chat, or maybe I'll send this to you on. I'll send this to you as a DM on Twitter, because I can't. It's not on my desktop right now. But there was a study done several years ago of high risk takers who are extremely successful in all kinds of different financial markets, but they tend to take more risk than the normal person. And when you raise your hand, if your middle finger is higher than your other two fingers that surround it, then you are a risk taker, and you tend to take more risk than other people who do not have a much higher middle finger.
Huh. Who would have thought that little tiny distance
That's right.
could be so impactful to the outcome or direction of my life?
That's right. So whenever I coach somebody who wants to get into trading, the first thing I do is have them raise their hand.
Raise your hand.
I said, "No, you're not a risk taker. You're not going to be able to do it."
But let's talk about this little thing called compounding interest.
Yes. Now that a lot of people can live with. Yes, absolutely.
I'll tell you, from I just because I keep patting you on the back, because I just think you're so friggin' incredible. That Beyond Moon series that we did, in that episode where I shared my exit strategy, all the things that you and I had been talking about offline to prepare for those episodes, in my crafting of that, I'll tell you, the most powerful thing that I get the most comments back on, and even my 22-year-old son, who doesn't want to listen to me more than 5 minutes at any one given time, sat through that whole hour and 10-minute video and said, "Dad, this compounding interest thing, that's the magic."
It's powerful.
That's the magic.
Powerful, yeah.
And it's the number one thing I get the most comments about back to me.
It's interesting because it's very much like inflation, right? People don't see inflation in their daily life. They don't see it. It's something that is very, very hidden. They don't realize that a 3% inflation rate, which is the target for the Federal Reserve over a 10-year period, is a 30% decrease in your purchasing power. And the same effect works on compounded interest, but in the opposite way. It increases your purchasing power by 30%. So it is extremely powerful. And even more than that, because it is compounded, so that 3% annual. If you just got a 3% return a year, compounded on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, is extremely powerful and increases your purchasing power in ways that you don't really, if you were just looking at an investment opportunity, you'd say, oh yeah, okay, I'm earning 3%, big deal. Well, you're compounding that 3% on a weekly or annual, or the best scenario is if you can get it compounded daily.
Right.
I mean, now you're talking some really big money. And even Albert Einstein, as we quoted in that piece, said it's one of the most powerful things in the world.
I'll tell you, so I have spent a lot of time living on basically nothing. And when I got my stimulus check, I invested into Cardano. Now, this was 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago. Now, I had a bag of it from a long time ago, and I increased that bag. And as I was, understanding how a POS validation protocol is so much different than proof of work, and it's obviously different than the XRP consensus ledger protocol. This idea that the system, through its transaction fees and a fund set up by the protocol way in advance when the tokens were minted, that they're going to reward validators, and they've created this system in which they can evenly disperse these rewards, unlike the proof of works, where it's the biggest mining pools get all the money. They get all the money.
Right.
They get the majority of the money. Well, this is set up where it's completely, algorithmically evenly distributed. And the fact that I'm going to get every 5 days compounding mechanism on my initial investment, not to mention whatever capital appreciation happens with the underlying asset, which is a different thing, and I put it off to the side.
Right.
Compounding at 3 or 4% every 5 days is when you start to really extrapolate the math out, is absolutely mind-boggling. And if you added in something like what you're really great at, and that is this discipline of dollar cost averaging continually, like I see you dollar cost averaging in until the day you start selling.
Absolutely.
Because it's a discipline, it's an investment discipline that you developed a long time ago.
Absolutely.
So I could, Dave, I think I'm going to be filthy freaking rich.
Yeah, that is very, very exciting. And so, so how much Cardano do you need in order to be able to do this staking? Is it
as little as little? No, it's unlike Ether. Ether's 2.0 protocol.
Yeah, it was
32 ETH, right, as a minimum, unless you leave it on the exchange, and the exchange is one wallet becomes the one staking wallet. Cardano staked in my own wallet, in my own computer. I still own the keys. It never leaves me. There's no minimal amount.
Oh, that's fantastic. So anybody could start compounding right away.
With as little as $2.
That's absolutely fantastic. Everybody should pay attention to that. That's a big deal. And so, those kind of opportunities don't come along all the time. Think about it. The last time we had a risk-free interest rate that was over 2% in a savings account was like 2008, early 2008.
Was it even that recent?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to remember. I had one that was at 1.3. See, I have to gauge everything to when my son was born. How old was he?
Now, maybe it was 1998. Maybe it was late 2007. I think it was 2008. It was April of 2008 because I remember because I had a savings account. I had a fairly decent sized savings account, and I was earning $1,000 a month just on the interest. And so, but then all of a sudden it went down to like $40, $50. I was earning $1,000 a month just in interest, and it went down to $40, $50. And I said, what the hell? And the interest rates went from 2% or more than 2%, whatever it was more than 2% at the time, and it dropped down to almost nothing.
And help me because I love this about you. You're pretty knowledgeable about a lot of things. Current monetary policy has painted monetary policy in a corner. They can't raise rates to give to get more investment, because if they do, they won't be able to service their debt. So how it doesn't appear that those old ways are going to come back anytime soon, because it will crush the system faster than the pressure that the system is already putting on itself now. If that makes, you know what I mean? It's like the lesser of two evils is to keep going the way they're going versus like a Volcker 180. You know what I mean? If they did a Volcker right now, the whole
it would collapse like a house of cards.
Yeah.
So no, the dollar has been dropping, and that's because of all of the money that's being printed and all of the monetizing of the debt, right? You can't stop that train. That is not going to stop. And they could end up doing this for a very long time, but the dollar's going to continue to drop. Now, the officials, including the president, have said that they want negative interest rates. They want a weaker dollar in order to compete with all of these foreign countries that want to export, import, and especially they want to compete with the exports. And so if you've got a very strong US dollar, well, your goods made in America are very expensive overseas.
Sure.
And so everybody's trying to, this race is going to the bottom of interest rates. Europe is zero, negative, and even negative yielding bonds. Japan has been zero for a very long time. The United States, I think, is going, if you watch the 10-year note like I do on a regular basis, it continues to decline. And I would not be surprised to see us, if on a very short-term basis, like a 3-month T-bill, go negative before the end of the year, especially with a declining dollar. Now, remember, just a few months ago, they announced that they were setting up swap lines with a lot of other countries that they normally don't, with other central banks that they normally don't do. And the reason they wanted to do that was so they could sell dollars to them. They needed to keep that dollar low, because as soon as the dollar starts going up, interest rates are going to go up too, and that's going to bring the entire house of cards down. It's going to make monetizing the debt way too expensive. And so they need to keep that dollar down, so I'm not surprised. They're printing more, keeping the dollar down, selling and exporting that inflation to other countries and other central banks, selling dollars in order to buy foreign currencies to keep the US dollar lower. And that's going to go on for a very long time. I think that is their game plan going forward.
Let me feed that back to you, not coming from the voice of an educated person, but coming from of just Joe everyday who may not. I'm going to use super layman terms and do an analogy to feed back to you if I got what you said correctly. So, if the demand for the dollar is so high, and the reasons are because the oil's priced in the dollar, everybody trades in it around the world in that dollar, and so much debt is denominated in dollars outside the US as well as the US, that creates demand for it, which is what keeps it getting stronger and stronger and stronger because the demand is so high. Am I correct in that piece of the analogy?
Well, you've got the foreign central banks buying the currency, selling their own dollars. But the U.S. is selling the dollars, so we're actually exporting our inflation. We're basically saying, hey, look, we've got inflation here, but we need to keep the dollar lower. And so in order to keep the dollar low, we've got to sell it. And they're selling it to other foreign currencies who need it because of the demand, as you mentioned. And so they can use it to eliminate their debt, pay their debt, use it for purchasing oil and everything else that they need to do as the petrodollar continues to, be the machine that is greasing the entire world's, machinery at this point. It's oiling the machine. And without it, those other countries are not going to have the type of inflation that they typically have. And I think I mean, Venezuela has definitely run into some issues when it comes to hyperinflation and the devaluation of their currency, but a lot of it has to do with the petrodollar.
Right.
So we have exported that inflation to every country that has to use the petrodollar in order to purchase and export their oil. So, I mean, I don't think we're without some sort of culpability in a lot of the inflation that's being sent around the world. Algiers just reported on their consumer price index, and they're up, 3, 4, 5%. It's just anybody who depends on the U.S. dollar, the world reserve currency, the petrodollar, to get the goods and services that they need, is going to run into the same inflationary scenario that the United States is, because we are the reserve currency.
Point of question or clarity. When you say exporting inflation, could that be seen as, for instance, the value of the US dollar relative to, let's say, the Japanese yen, or where I'm at, the Costa Rican colony? So if one unit of measure, a dollar, was 3 months ago worth 500 colones, well, today it's 580 colones to make the value of $1.
Right.
That is that inflation that you're talking about.
That's right. So your currency, your local currency, is devalued because they're holding US dollars.
So for those people who might have businesses that deal with oil or anything that's in US dollars, whether it be debt, oil, goods and service, whatever, their purchasing power is eroding even faster than, let's say, yours as a US citizen.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And, well, okay. So in a nutshell,
we saw the Lebanese currency. If you noticed, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a big news about the Lebanese currency being devalued significantly. And this because of the dependence that they have on the U.S. dollar in order to pay their bills and for petroleum purchases, and they need those dollars. And so their the local value of the local currency is being devalued significantly. And the central bank and some of the local agencies were like, well, what the hell is going on? Because nobody wants to deal in the local currency anymore. And a couple of the shops in Lebanon started to say, hey, look, we're not accepting the local currency anymore. We're only going to take USD, or we're going to take, whatever we can get besides the local currency. The value of the local currency went down significantly against the US dollar.
Well, then it would, okay, I think I just gleaned something here. So gold and cryptocurrencies don't necessarily appreciate in value. They're just maintaining or appreciation versus the devaluation of all the world's currencies, whether it be inflation, the inflation of the US dollar, or even the absolute degradation of every currency underneath that has to deal in that dollar. So
now you got it. Yes, absolutely.
Cryptos, these fixed supply hard assets like real estate, which is a hard asset, we might see the dollar amount go up. It's not necessarily because it's more valuable. It just hasn't lost its value. Oh, that's a completely different kind of perspective or a lens to look at it through.
Absolutely. I think you've exactly right. You've got a currency, or you've got anything that you can convert into USD, against the USD. So purchasing power is everything. See, you want to try to maintain your purchasing power. And right now, because the US dollar is being printed so much, you're losing US dollar. If you hold on to US dollars, you're losing value every single day. But if you had a hard asset like silver, gold, and look at silver today. Look at silver and gold today. They're up 7%, and gold's up $42 and silver's up 7%. It's not because they're going up necessarily because of more demand. They're going up because the US dollar is dropping faster than the store of value that's contained in silver and gold as a hard asset.
So here's a question for you. Gold, silver, Well, hard assets, gold, silver, real estate, XRP.
XRP, that's right. Any fixed asset is going to have, I think, is going to do very, very well. Even Ethereum, who has a little bit of inflation into it, is not. It's the inflation rate is not as serious as the U.S. dollar.
Right.
So anything that has a relatively fixed supply should do well with a declining dollar. And right now, the dollar is at 93.68. It was as high as 99 just a few weeks ago.
Right.
Actually, it's 103.
It was flexing its muscle. I remember that at 103.
Yes.
I remember the DXY was just death to everybody but the dollar.
Yes, that was during the sell-off that we had where we dropped.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the markets, yeah.
Sure.
Everybody hadn't flocked to USD, but now they're saying, hey, look, everything's fine. We're going to print as much money as you guys need, and you don't have to worry about getting out of financial assets because we're going to supply as much as you need. There's no shortage.
Well, what a great perspective to have from, look, so let's just bring this back to a common love that we have, and that is cryptocurrencies, digital assets. There's a case and a value proposition, not about the necessarily the increased value of the coin. It's preservation of your friggin' money.
Yeah, that's it.
And with the speed and cost, like for instance, I can move money in and out of, I have two accounts in the US that are directly linked to my bank, and that's Coinbase and Uphold. Both very easy to use as far as the ACH rails. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it takes a few days for settlement, but for the most part, pretty easy, right? Holding my money in cash more than a couple of days, it would make sense to use a digital asset like a Bitcoin, an XRP, or whatever your favorite one is, as your money.
Yeah.
Because I can see we're over a year. Like it used to be, like I used to tell my son, save, if you made $100, save 10 of it, put it in your savings account.
Right.
Well, if you're not getting paid interest on your savings account, really, then over the course of a year, you might have lost 3 cents on the dollar for every dollar you have in there. It makes no sense to hold cash or have cash.
That's right, especially
in the form of cash. In the form of cash, it makes sense to have liquidity.
Yes, liquidity is a different, animal.
Different animal.
Yep.
So the actual asset of cash is a shit asset. Long term.
Long term as an investment vehicle or a store of value. But as far as, but as you, yeah, I know that's a whole nother can of worms, right?
That's another episode.
Not a store of value anymore. It really isn't. It does not hold its value. It will not hold its value against other assets.
In a climate of monetary policy that is only going to debase it even further, regardless, because over time, what's been printed somehow, some way will leak into the system, and the only way to counter that is mass default, right? The currency that's created through credit can be uncreated through what they call delinquency or foreclosure or
right, that's deflationary. So all of the debt is deflationary. And so what they're doing, I mean, with the shutdown of the economy, with the current health situation, all of these factors have hurt the economy tremendously. And so what's happening is there's a deflationary aspect to that because velocity of money is declining significantly. And that's why, and that's the real, so it's kind of funny because you see all these signs, when you go out, please use exact change. The Federal Reserve has a coin shortage. And a lot of people are thinking, well, this is a conspiracy to go to digital dollar or something like that. But that's not the case. The real issue is that there's no velocity of money. So all of the stores, all of the restaurants, all of the businesses that used to take coinage in and then deposit it with the bank so it can recirculate, that velocity of the money is no longer taking place. And so it's stagnant. There's not enough. Everybody's holding on to the coins that they have because they can't spend it. there's no place to go use it. And so that's why there's no more circulation of, and there's a shortage right now. But all of that creates, all of that economic decline is deflationary, because what happens is people don't have the money now to pay bills. And so I think it was Citi who reported earnings just about a week ago, and their loan defaults are just skyrocketing. I mean, and then 30% of mortgages are not being paid, rents are not being paid.
Auto loan.
Yeah, so auto loans are huge. I mean, they're being, you know, all of the loans, credit cards, everything is being defaulted on, and that's a deflationary. So now, in order to counteract that deflationary pressure, the Federal Reserve has to print even more. And that's why they're trying to get this. I think that's one of the reasons why they're trying to get this digital dollar out, because they want to be able to get that velocity going. They want to get that money into your account as fast as possible so you can spend it. Because right now the economy is shut down because of the velocity. It's declined and, you know, constrained to the point where money isn't moving. And that's deflationary.
And yet it smacks our love, right? Our love for XRP, it smacks it right in its wheelhouse.
Yeah,
fast and cheap.
Oh,
that
yeah.
The velocity.
Yeah, we both love XRP. We're not hiding that fact.
No.
But for anybody who's ever transacted in a different coin, whether it's VET, ADA, Bitcoin, Ethereum, especially Ethereum and Bitcoin, it is painful, slow to transact in those. I wanted to do a conversion. I had to buy Ethereum in order to convert it to VET. That's pretty quick, actually. That's really fast. I like that.
VET, well, you know what? Anything that isn't proof of work is faster than proof of work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And so I had to buy some Ethereum first. I should have gotten, because I didn't want to sell any of my XRP. I'm not going to sell my XRP to do this. So I bought a little Ethereum, converted it to VET, but it took forever to get the Ethereum into my wallet because of the transaction. Then when I converted it, and then when I converted the Ethereum to VET, it took forever, it seems like. When I could, if I did XRP, would have taken to VET, would have taken like seconds. I mean, just like that.
Yeah.
So if you've transacted in other coins before, you would appreciate how the speed and the settlement times of XRP. Just try it. Try XRP.
Try it. What an incredible conversation, Dave. Thank you. So we're at our time, and I want to respect yours as I respect you as a person. I want to thank you for your time with me today. I want to let the audience know that links to Dave's Twitter, CopyCat Coach YouTube channel, all those things will be put in the description down below. I encourage you to go check out his stuff. Follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. And obviously subscribe to CopyCat. If you want to begin the process of creating something for yourself, there is a mentor who's been there, done that, and is now providing an avenue for you to follow what he's doing to create the results he's created for himself for you. That is added value. And all you need.
Giancarlo said the XRP is currency, right?
Right.
Content is currency too. You can convert it. So, learn how to create content. You can convert it to currency very easily. And I showed you how early, and I will show everybody who signs up to do that. It sounds like an infomercial, and it is in a way, but it's also a sincere request that if you want to improve your life, there's a way to do it. And I'm going to do my best, and I take it very seriously to show you how to do it.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I really appreciate you having me back on. It's always a pleasure, my son, my friend.
So you kind of are. You're a pseudo mentor, dad, peer, friend, whatever. I adore you. I cherish our relationship. And folks, for your time with Dave and I today, we both say thank you. And from New York and Costa Rica, Pura Vida.